Welcome to Momentum Monday. Today is July 6th, 2025. I hope everyone had a great 4th of July weekend. What about you, Howard? Did you do anything uh, out of the ordinary?
No, we quiet weekend, Ellen and I. A lot of walking around, beautiful weather here, as you know, in San Diego. And we didn't really even take in the fireworks. Did you do some fireworks with the baby?
No, he was sleeping. He goes to bed early. Uh, so nothing really fancy. We just had a quiet weekend as well. But the market is not having a quiet time. The indices keep making new all-time highs. Last week we saw more of the same, with the exception that now the bull market seems to be expanding into more areas of the market. It's not just tech, crypto related stocks, but also, especially on Monday, which was like the first trading day, not Monday, July 1st, I think it was Tuesday. Yes,
Hmm.
Tuesday. The first trading day of the new quarter. We saw a lot of the big momentum names kind of pulling back for a day. These are
Hmm.
kind of normal shakeouts, but then a significant inflow into lagging sectors, like the worst hit sectors really outperformed significantly on that same day, July 1st. We have home builders, biotech, retailers. They just had a big jump on that day without really seeing a big change in the underlying fundamentals of those businesses, but just it just shows that this bull market is not slowing down. It is expanding into other areas of the market. I don't know if the market is optimistic about the impact of that new bill that was just voted and signed into a law.
Yeah, I
This
mean, it's not the market's job to look 20 years out and at the debt problem, right? The market is the market. It's looking beyond that. It's looking at, assuming it's 6 months forward looking. Um, going back to the NASDAQ 100, if we go back to it, assuming it's 4 months, 6 months forward looking, and let's say no one believed Trump, even though he said he was going to do tariffs, right? You really have a sideways market up until this month, right? And then what you have this month is the big, beautiful bill. So obviously, people that are buying stocks, the institutions that are moving this market, think it's a good thing. They just don't think America is going to have a debt problem, contrary to what every economist and media person tearing the bill, apart, right? And so what you have is, I mean, that's the real news, right? Is the bill and the spending and the 2 trillion, that's going to be layered into the economy in debt. And the market's saying, I don't care. Now, you want to bet against what the market's saying, go ahead. But like you said, if you look at the RSP, which is I think it's equal weighted.
equal with S&P, yes.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't look like the beginning of trouble. It looks like the beginning of something. Again, you got to take out the VIX 60 Trump personal bear market, right? That was his toy. Who knows why he did it? Maybe he knew he could always, maybe they were buying the dip themselves. Um, so I think you just got to follow the price action, right? Like look at Walmart. Weren't they supposed to be crushed by the tariffs? And look at them hanging on. There's some stocks that have been crushed, but overall, like you said, Ivan, the bull market is broadening, right? And bad news is getting bought. Let's look at solar. Didn't the government come after solar? And there was huge gap downs 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Um, to go to a daily. Yeah, there was that huge gap down. So this is what I'm looking for if you're trying to find some bottoms. And again, I don't know anything about solar companies, but if you have a bottoming process and you have these huge gaps on like what seems like policy news, and then you take out those gaps, those are bullish signs. Again, forgetting news and like take a look at First Solar. Um, Same thing, gap down. So solar's kind of bottoming, despite people saying energy oil prices were going to go to $150. All the economists that said
Did you
that.
buy any solar?
I did nibble on a couple things just for a trade. Another one that I've been looking at, Ivan, is Grab, GRAB, which is kind of the Uber of
Southeast
um,
Asia. Yeah.
Southeast Asia. I talked about it. I guess there's no real buy point yet, but I look at it as like I looked at Coupang, CPNG, which is kind of like mobile and e-commerce of South Korea. Back when I mentioned it a few weeks ago, and that's breaking out. So I think, like you said, the market's widening. I think if you go into the names like Nvidia, they're all that have been working, they're all so extended from their moving day averages. But again, 4 trillion, I think it's like 2% away from 4 trillion, Ivan, which would make it the first $4 trillion
Yeah.
company. So, I mean, there's a lot of money locked up in these great companies that doesn't seem to be nervous, even with interest rates, you know, 6%. Some of it can be tied to the dollar weakness that we talked about last week,
Or
right?
if the US government plans to run huge deficits forever without stopping, regardless of who is in charge. Of
I'm saying
course,
if you're the best neighborhood in a shit world, which you still are, it doesn't matter how bad your balance sheet is, everybody else's sucks more. Um, that's what I think the market's saying. Now, as the dollar, if the dollar breaks, and it sure looks like it wants to, right? I don't know how the market will react, right? It's kind of hanging in there and it's already down 10% on the year. So this is a major move. We're back to like, I don't know, 2008 kind of prices, right? But it's held here for, I don't know, 20 years. So I think if the dollar continues to show weakness, I would imagine some things will break, right, in this rally. But I mean, I don't want to play macro expert on this show. I think you got to follow price action. What else are you looking at? I think there's some rotation into names that aren't as much extended, which would
yeah.
be somehow. I think
I
the
mean,
dollar the dollar could bounce.
last week I traded the few names that I traded. I bought some Apple calls, for that rotation. I had a good trade in that. I bought crypto play B backed holdings BKKT.
Okay.
Uh, just was setting up here for a potential breakout, and I bought it here as it was breaking out, and took some already sold half off to reduce my risk, and just because anything crypto is in play right now, and anything that has been lagging now is trying to catch up. So it
Hmm.
was just a good trade from a risk to reward perspective. I bought some which is Unity software. Also, as it was breaking out of this rage contraction here,
Okay.
this one is a potential acquisition target down the
Hmm.
road. So there are really a lot of different setups that are showing up, and that are working. And I had a couple that didn't work out, and I took small losses in last week. One of them was SE as it broke down on July 1st. I was expecting to continue higher, but it didn't, so I had to take a small loss here as it
Hmm.
broke down on July 1st. And then the other one that I bought, Dutch Bros, kind of shook me out again.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
I'm long this in my degenerate economy as I've been selling
but
down.
I'm keeping
So
an eye on it
yeah,
for a
for a
potential day.
trade, I understand why you stopped out, but I'm not
Yeah,
looking. But I feel like as an American growth stock in a world that um, loves growth, this could work. But they're going to have to deliver. It's not cheap. But like as I've been talking about for months here, the stores are packed. and they sell a degenerate product. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, there's not much new to talk about, right? So you got NVIDIA is going to be the story this week. They're going to be
Yeah.
talking about 4 trillion. They're going to be talking about crypto because of the dollar. So everybody's going to be harping on the spending bill and that Bitcoin's the hedge
Yeah,
against the
Tesla will
government.
probably also be in the spotlight.
Yeah, but he's always in the spotlight. The stock is not. The stock is just a mess. And everybody gets excited about every mini breakout or every little technical move. But if we go back and look at the weekly and the monthly, I mean, it's still in this range that it's been in for, I don't know, 4 years. Very loose range. But strong, I mean, if you've owned the stock a long time, it's just been fantastic. But every move has been a fake out. Um, for the last 4 years. Every big move has been led to a fake out. And just it's digesting. I mean, he's in the headlines again for the third American party.
Yeah, yeah,
So he's written himself back into the news for the next, I don't know, 100 years. Pretty genius if you want to be in the media and he's going to have smart people around trying to get that thing through. So it's not just going to go away, this whole third party idea. I just don't know if that's good or bad for him. Amazon looks good here, huh?
yeah. I had some, Amazon, but I sold too early, so I'm looking to re-enter. It's just making higher lows, higher highs.
Yep.
It's a slower moving stock, but they're in the right industry, and they're a major leader in all those industries that they're in. And it's just looking higher from here, despite Jeff Bezos selling stock uh, to
Gotta pay for the man, gotta
support
pay for
his
the wedding, man.
lifestyle,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah. His
it's
lifestyle
acting
is not one that I
constructively.
would enjoy, but I mean, he's living the good life. If we
Yeah,
look at, I think the big story too, even though, is Robinhood and Coinbase, right? Like,
yeah, definitely, yeah,
so
yeah.
everybody is sold that Robinhood's going to be the next trillion. All of a sudden, it was at $10 billion for 4 years, but all of a sudden at 100 billion, everybody thinks it's a foregone conclusion that it'll be, $1 trillion company. I wouldn't bet against it for sure, but like I'm more, it's so extended from moving averages that I would just, when it gets this hyped, I expect some kind of slowdown or pullback. And with Coinbase, which I think just passed, which is still ahead of it in market cap.
They're pretty much at the same level.
They're now at the same,
90 and what was it? Or 88, I think.
yeah, so they're,
Oh,
within,
83, 83. So yeah,
yeah,
about
still
six, seven
10%.
percent.
So I do think they're going to be battling it out. I still think it's a much better, I just think Coinbase is an incredible company, but like it's very hard to compare to Robinhood. Coinbase seems like more of a bet on all of crypto leverage to crypto, and Robinhood's more of a bet on just being a financial company, So really two different companies, but they're going to come head to head over a lot of stuff. And what they may come to head along the most is, the kind of the new form of futures market, which is poly market and Kalshi. So those are going to become household, you know, names. It led me to sell DraftKings. The one reason I'm like done with sports betting is the customer acquisition in this space is too high. I think the other one's Flutter, which is FanDuel, which has been a better performing stock. You can see the toll that all the money spending is doing on DraftKings, right? To stay, and they're just going to be attacked forever from the Robinhoods, Coinbases, the Polymarkets, the Kalshis, um, and then regulation. And there's stuff in the tax bill, in the new beautiful bill that's supposedly going to limit the amount of losses gamblers can take against their winnings. So, kind of done with DraftKings. I'm rotating into other some degenerate kind of themes. But the financial industry, Ivan, looks phenomenal.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say, that everyone's
Of
focused
all the
on
of
tech.
all the industries, and I added a new position, not for the degenerate economy in Schwab last week. Again, I don't have a opinion on Schwab other than if we go out to the monthly and you look at financials. I mean, this could easily hit 120, 130 in a strong market on the.
Yeah,
So again, like investors are going to look for stuff that hasn't moved. And I think when you start looking at Robinhood being half of the size of Schwab, Schwab may play a little catch up on market cap.
yeah, they
Again,
could.
this is just,
The most interesting part so far this year is, not the tariff correction, but that some of the best performing stocks year to date are financials. We mentioned Robinhood. We have others like Ciso.
what's
Um,
this again?
it's
Wow.
it's like buy now, pay later company, and it used to be a dollar, $1 company just
Oh my
recently.
goodness. Wait a minute. What the hell is it? What's Sezzle.com?
And
You mentioned it. Hang on.
yeah,
All those afterpays of disasters for the people that owned it. Huh. So it's its own.
well, this one is, is done incredibly well, and it continue to grow. And another one, Dave, Dave.com, also huge move,
Yeah.
5 to
No, I know. I remember
280.
this was a SPAC and it was a disaster.
Well, there were a lot of companies that were disaster during that
Yeah.
2022 bear market, but then, they built new bases, and Apple was another one, complete disaster in the 2022 markets, but
Yeah.
and then 10 to 500 basically.
Yeah.
So a lot of the big movers come from places that no one really expects, from companies that no one is really talking about for a long period of time, and they just continue to trend and to trend.
Sure, sure, sure. I was saying when Apple was a trillion, when Apple first hit a trillion in late 2017, Nvidia was 50 billion. So think about
Yeah,
if those charts up. So when Apple first hit a trillion in 2018, um, Nvidia would have been like zero point 0.1 on the chart. Now Nvidia's surpassed the market cap. So just think about the returns
yeah,
of so it's just a reminder you only need to get a couple trends right in your whole life. But if you're
yeah,
not indexing, which is still just a phenomenal strategy, you want to look for stocks that are breaking out. So, looking at this Sezzle, I gotta be skeptical, but man, I guess it's the only really independent because a firm, I guess a firm's independent, but like a firm's been struggling. I mean, it's rallied, but been struggling.
they've
Yeah,
recovered
looks
a
good.
lot.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
recovered a lot. And then Square is probably XYZ, I guess, would be the one, the laggard to play here because they bought Afterpay for $1 bajillion.
I'm not interested. This
No,
company
but
has
I'm
been
saying
stuck.
like if you wanted to play, they bought Afterpay, which they peak paid, but that looked for dead a couple months ago and trying to bottom. I mean, so that's a firm Sezzle. So those are just that's that sector. But yeah, Goldman all-time highs, Schwab all-time highs, Robinhood all-time highs, Coinbase all-time highs, probably JP Morgan's all-time highs,
Yeah,
probably Goldman Sachs, probably Morgan Stanley all-time highs.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So again, I think it's kind of don't overthink it. What you have to start thinking about too is just how to take profits and then how to start thinking about what will be the bad news when it comes. And what's on page 10 that no one's talking about that's headed to page one. So right now, no one's worried about anything. Where's the VIX?
I mean, I don't know the symbol here on
Yeah,
this
it's
plot one
probably under
exactly.
20. Let me just look it up quickly. VIX is 16. So was as high
See?
as 60. So just a quick reminder that
Yeah,
make your money when you buy the VIX.
16, yeah.
You make your money when you buy panic.
But
Um,
60.
Yeah, anything you had bought
Yeah.
back when the VIX was 60 looks fantastic now. All right. Everybody have a great week.
All right, Howard, thank you. See
Have a
you
great
next
week.
week.
Okay, see everybody.
Bye.